Yeah, we're a little bit off, maybe off like the core messaging for this event, so bear with me. My name's Matt Overman. I work for a company called Donuts. Obviously, if you've been by our booth downstairs, or even if you haven't, please stop by. But if you have been by it, you may have been disappointed to learn we're not a blockchain company. We're also not a donuts company, an actual tasty treat donuts company, as we talked about. But we specialize in domain names, and specifically new domain names. And so a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is the advent and release and sort of adoption of new domains and the parallels with blockchain. I've been in the business, the domain business, for 15 years, and I'm a relative newbie to blockchain, but consider myself an expert in domains. And what's become increasingly clear is that there's quite an intersection between the two, and on a number of different fronts, which I'm going to talk about. But if you're not familiar with the DNS, it's, and simply put, it's effectively the piping or part of the foundation of the internet, highly scalable, reliable, global, and largely decentralized. So a lot of parallels to blockchain as well. And that's kind of the foundation of our business. So if you're here from a startup, you're here interested in investing in crypto or blockchain, you're a developer looking to build different blockchain applications or leverage the technology, hopefully there's something interesting here that we're going to be talking about today. And from that development standpoint, we invest in expanding new use cases for domains and for the DNS. So we have Donuts.Ventures, which I'll talk about, but we're investing in blockchain-based companies too. So again, hopefully some of it's interesting. Let's see, how am I going on here? There we go. Simply put, I find us really interesting. Hopefully you guys do as well, but we're certainly one of the more interesting companies that you haven't heard of, that really no one's heard of. Partly to do with our name, but we've been fortunate enough to win some awards recently. We're a local company, fastest growing in the Deloitte Fast 500, among other ones. So despite not many people knowing about new domains, we are in a growth stage right now. Again, just a little bit more about Donuts. We're in a space that has a number of competitors. We're actually the largest new top-level domain registry, so new domain registry. We have 241 of these extensions, and that's more than the next seven largest combined. And there's some companies there. Another growing local company, Amazon, you guys obviously have heard of. But from a portfolio standpoint, by far the largest one, which gives us a lot of options, which we'll talk about in terms of our investments. And then finally, I guess I haven't even really touched on what are new top-level domains. They're simply put alternatives to .com. So that is, I believe, our entire portfolio. I'm not going to go through every word there, but a number of them are particularly interesting to this arena. And we're getting a lot of companies, which I'll talk about, that are embracing new domains, .ventures, .fund, .network in particular. So, maybe you guys have seen some of these. .xyz, I think, is on one of the signs here. That's not one of ours, but we're starting to see an increasing amount of these out in the wild. So from I don't know how I got the side screen there. All right. I just wanted to touch on, I've talked about some of the companies from a startup standpoint, some of the companies that are using these. I'm not going to go into detail really about a number of the companies I talk about, but we track this. One of the most exciting things about being a new domain registry is we get to participate, in the excitement that comes from some of these companies launching on our domains and being successful. Swarm.fund trying to disrupt investing and making it quite a bit easier for the smaller investor to participate in alternative investments that historically smaller investors couldn't participate in, that were reserved for private equity. So they're onto something very cool. One of the coolest things about it from my standpoint is they're using Swarm.fund, and they actually own Swarm.com. So I hear constantly, the only people that are using new domains are people that can't afford the .com. In Swarm's case, they've bought swarm.com. They own it. And they think that the better, more relevant, more descriptive domain for their business is swarm.fund. And they're just redirecting the .com to the .fund. So a bit of a misconception that people don't want to use these names. They're forced to based on the lack of ability to get the .com. In this case, we've obviously seen that's not the case. Some other companies, what do all these companies have in common? Zcash, Golem, BitPay, Bancor. Hopefully you guys have heard of a lot of these. They're all in the top, well, as of 2 days ago, they were all in the top 100 by market cap cryptocurrencies. I know that's not the word I'm supposed to be using. Virtual currencies. They're all in the top 100, all $75 million market caps. And they all are using donuts specifically. Well, actually, C is using a different one, but all using new domains. Most of them .network, Golem.network, Bancor.network. Zcash is using Z.cash. And these are companies that have a ton of money, obviously very well capitalized from a market cap standpoint, and again, have chosen to be on these new domains that are only growing in terms of visibility. I mentioned at the beginning that we have an entity called Unbank.Ventures. We're really interested, despite being a domain registry, really interested in ourselves investing in blockchain, and on top of that, just new use cases for the DNS in general. And again, I'm never going to be the person at our company that does these investments or these particular companies justice, but I'll try just to give you a sense of what we're looking for and why we're investing in these new use cases. NetKey started as a crypto wallet company, and they were leveraging the DNS in an interesting way, and that's why we invested in them. They're trying to better name wallets. You may be familiar with the Ethereum naming service. It's not entirely dissimilar to that, but rather than a 32 alphanumeric, not very memorable string, you can name a wallet something like mattoverman.money. And so they've actually even expanded beyond that into global ID validation and are taking it another level. So their technology could, in the near future, be used to, in a more streamlined fashion, access some of the trading platforms. For example, if you were trying to buy on Coinbase or Bittrex in December, you may have waited a month to get onto one of those platforms, or to have any meaningful deposit accepted. That's not going to be the case if they're successful there. Geo Network is a little bit of a different one. It's actually leveraging, first and foremost, the DNS using IPv6 addresses to map the entire world down to the cubic square centimeter. And this was really interesting to us for a few reasons. One, with those billions or trillions of cubic centimeter geofences or smart fences, those all have geospatial recognition applications. You can see a world where someone has every centimeter of their house, square centimeter of their property mapped, and they want to give certain permissions to that. There's drone delivery applications there, no-fly zone, but there's also really interesting layers when you incorporate in blockchain for managing those permissions to that geospatial territory. Leveraging the smart contract element of blockchain, you could see preventing anyone from coming onto the property. That's a good example. Caging coins within a specific geolocation, or not allowing drones to go anywhere but to a specific area. We've bet pretty big on this, and are actually one of the advantages we have from having 241 of those TLDs is we can dedicate one to a totally new initiative, an entirely new use case, not you need a domain for a website. And we've done that with this company and .place. So every one of those addresses, in theory, in the future, will be able to be mapped to a whatever you want to name it. Seattle could be a very large one, down to Matt Overman's home or back porch .place. And then again, set permissions. And the key there is that rather than sharing a very lengthy, hard to remember IPv6 address and coordinates, you're just sharing a name to regulate that. You're dropping that in. Okay. So on to the area where I actually have a little bit more expertise is domain names as digital real estate from an investment standpoint. And certainly there's been a A lot of investment into the crypto arena now, and we're seeing a lot of trends that parallel that in domain names as well, and specifically new domains. These stats are more global: 300 million domains registered, 7 billion in public sales, 100 domains or more that have sold for $1 million. That's just public sales, and that spans all TLDs. It's estimated that only sub 10% of the public sales are actually sales are actually recorded publicly. So you're talking about an investment industry in domains that's north of $100 billion likely. And that's only in the last 15, 20 years. Specifically in new domains, and why it's so exciting to us is, com's been around for 30 years. We've only been around for 4 years. We're starting to see, and it very closely maps the trajectory of blockchain and the cryptocurrencies that have taken off, specific names relevant to this market that have gone up in value. We sold ourselves Bitcoin.market a few years ago. You've seen Bitcoin.casino and Bitcoin.live in subsequent years sell for quite a bit more. It was an investor of ours that sold Blockchain.Ventures. He bought it for $1,000, flipped it a year later for $42,000. And what's interesting is there's a lot of stability in this. Since the markets have come down a little bit in the first quarter, we haven't seen the values of these domains come down. We've actually only seen them go up. Spanning outside of the ones more specific to blockchain, we've sold Com, like I said, it's been around for 30 years. It took 15 years for the first $500,000 Com sale to occur. So almost 15 years after the advent of .com. We're 4 years in, and we have 3 $500,000 sales just from our company alone. Home.loans, Vacation.rentals, another one we can't speak about yet. But people are seeing the value, and there's very little awareness still. Not many companies, major companies using them, but people are seeing the value and putting their dollars behind it. And in those two examples I shared, these are sites that are going up, competing directly against Expedia, directly against LendingTree, and they both rank on the first page of Google. So these investors that are building businesses have seen immediate traction with them actually ranking in search. These names function the exact same. The only thing that they don't have is the brand awareness of .com. And there's still, the real remarkable part is still an incredible investment opportunity. All the good com names have long since been sold or selling for a lot of money in the aftermarket. Obviously, our names are starting to sell for a lot more, but they're way, relatively speaking, 4 years in, much better value. So we have a booth downstairs. Again, if you haven't been by it, come down, talk to our guys. Everyone here, we're giving away a free domain to anyone that wants it, a free new domain. So come down and grab your free promo card. Not names of this quality, but if you want to get your company name, you can register it. So, and we'd love to talk to you about new domains, blockchain, what we're investing in, whatever. Swing by.